This show is sponsored by PowerfulWomenUSA.com, a place to be inspired by other women. Hey, everybody. I'm Jill Conway, and this is Secrets of Powerful Women, a show dedicated to celebrating and supporting strong and successful women and sharing their stories. I am hoping that you will be inspired to pursue your own dreams, reclaim your voice, and discover your strengths. So today is just Jill. It is just me. I was going to have a guest on about empty nesting, but I figured, I've launched 3 kids to college. So I figured I could do this one solo because I have been in the trenches and I've come out the other side. So today we're going there, all the way there. So grab the tissues, ladies, because if you had a hard time or you think you're going to have a hard time with it, I've been there and I was you. So yeah. So, and boy, did I cry. Boy, did I cry. So let's start, I think, with that moment. And the moment you've just hugged your kid goodbye in a dorm hallway that smells like funky cleaner and burnt popcorn and somebody's gross hot pockets, right? And you've done everything. You've made the bed, probably twice. You've organized the toiletries and the mini fridge, and you've taken one last photo together. And then you walk to your car and you sit there. And you don't start the engine. Nope. Because you can't, right? Because something happens to you in that car that no one, not your mother, not your best friend, not a single parenting book ever warned you about. Yeah. So let me put a name to what is happening right at this moment, right? For so many of you that are listening, maybe you just dropped your kid off last week. Maybe it was last year and you're still not over it. Maybe it's coming up in a few months and you're already pre-grieving, lying awake at 2 a.m. thinking about everything. You know what goes through your mind. You know what the kitchen will feel like at 7 a.m. When no one needs breakfast made. And here's what society, and gosh, every greeting card tells you to feel proud, feel happy, feel relieved even. You did it. You raised a beautiful human being who is now walking into their future. This is the goal, ladies. This is the win. And it is. And it is. And you are proud, so proud, and you are happy for them. And I'm not disputing that at all because, yes, you, of course, are happy for them. They're starting their new phase of their life. But here's what no one talks about, what no one makes space for. The mom and dad in this equation. The mother sometimes more than the dad. Because something is also happening to you. Something significant, something that deserves to be named and honored and sat with. And instead, every conversation is about your kid, obviously, right? Like, how is she adjusting? How does he like his roommate? Did he join any clubs? Are they showering a lot? How's the shower situation? All these questions, right? And you smile and you answer, of course, because that's what matters. But somewhere inside, a quiet voice whispers, and what about me? I am not okay. That voice is not selfish. Guys, that voice is human, and that voice is a mother who has organized her entire identity, sometimes for 18 years, around a role that just changed, just fundamentally changed. So before we do anything else today, I want you to hear this. What you are feeling is not weakness. It's not failure. It's not you being too emotional. It is not something to push through or pray away or hustle past. This is legit. This is a legitimate, significant life transition, and you deserve to understand it. And I think that was one of the hardest things that I went through. I just felt like, God, no one tells you about this, right? Where's the what to expect when you're expecting book, but about what to expect when you're sending your kids off to school? So let's talk about what's actually going on here. And I put it together. I think I named it like the 6 things that blindside you, right? Because I've talked to so many women over 45, over 50 who have been through this. And I kept hearing the same things come up. 6 things in particular that nobody warns you about. And I want to kind of walk through every single one of them because they're real. And this is such a profound moment in your life. All right, so I think the first one, the silence is physical. And what I mean by that, now I don't mean quiet, I mean silence that has weight. You know, your house always had a frequency. You know, I love talking about frequencies, right? There was a baseline of another human being living inside it, a shower running at odd hours, a bedroom light on too late, you know, someone in the kitchen cooking something late at night, leaving the pan or something, you know, the microwave, you hear the dinging, the sound of their voice on the phone, laughing at something you will never know about, right? And then that frequency suddenly stops. And some women describe this as a physical sensation, you know, a pressure in the chest, a wrongness in the air, you know, some women say they hear like the phantom sounds, like they swear they hear their kid coming through the front door, right? Or I think your nervous system learned to track this person for nearly 2 decades, like, right? GPS, like, you know, the noises, what they're doing, right? You know, they're jumping in the shower at 11:30 at night type of thing, right? It doesn't just stop. It searches. And that's not you being dramatic. That is your brain doing exactly what it was trained to do. So yes, the silence can be physical. So the second one is that it sounds crazy but I feel like this was the best way I could say it, right? You grieve someone who is still alive. And this is one of the most disorienting things about empty nest, I think. It is a type of grief without the permission to call it grief. Grief in our culture has a clear trigger. It is loss, it is death, devastation, divorce. It's the end of something. But your child is fine. They're thriving. they're at college, they're eating late night pizzas and they're making friends and they're becoming themselves. And this is wonderful. So why does it feel like a piece of you was left in that dorm room? Because what you're grieving is not your child. I think you're grieving a version of your life, a daily kind of purpose. The child who needed you in a very specific, very consistent kind of way. And that version of your relationship may be genuinely over because it transforms into something new. And the new thing, it can be beautiful. But you have to walk through the loss of what was first. And no one gives you a casserole for this. No one sends flowers. And I don't mean to take that lightly. The world just keeps going like it's Tuesday, like it's Wednesday, right? And it's rough. It is rough. So I think the other, the number 3, the third struggle is your identity goes into crisis. So here's something that women don't talk about enough because it feels uncomfortable to admit, but I'm going to say it plainly because I went through it. For many of us, being a mom became the most central thing about who we are. Not the only thing, but the organizing thing, the thing that gave structure to a day, purpose to your sacrifice, meaning to an exhausting Thursday, right? Like, how many times do we use that? When people say, what'd you do all weekend? I did this with my kid or this with, and this and this. And it's so much of it is made up in our children's lives. So much of our Facebook posts are our children, right? And I don't say that in a bad way. I just say, like, I'm trying to figure it all out too. Of course, they're a huge, huge, huge part of our lives. Of course they are. So when that changes and they move away, it is a shock to the system. It is a shock to your everyday life. And when that daily active mothering role takes a step back, even temporarily, you can feel like you don't quite know who you are anymore. What do I want? What do I want to do with a Saturday night or Saturday that has nothing scheduled? That was rough for me. I couldn't believe it, right? We spent years with a schedule on a Saturday, all day schedule. Who's going to be where? Who's picking up? Who's driving? So now, what is my purpose right now? This, my friends, is, I think, an identity crisis. And it's a real one. And it happens to smart, accomplished, wonderful women who have careers and friends and full lives. Because motherhood doesn't care how many other things you have going on. It inserts itself at the very center. So now you have to recenter. That's the work. That's what we're going to talk about, right? And that's the rough part, I think, too. So the fourth thing, this is, again, blindside, right? Your marriage or your partnership gets exposed. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you're in a relationship, buckle up, ladies, because empty nest has a way of pulling back the curtain. For years, your kids were the connective tissue of your household, right? the schedules, the logistics, the conversations, the shared project of raising them. And now you're sitting across the dinner table from your partner with no soccer practice to discuss, no lineups, no plays, no homework crisis, no project to be done, no buffer. And one of two things I find tends to happen. Either you discover that without the noise of parenting, you actually really like each other, right? And this is a beautiful gift. Or you discover that you've been parallel living for years and you have been rebuilding. You have rebuilding to do. More rebuilding to do than you probably actually realized. And I'm going to be honest here, with all the people that I know, some relationships don't survive because, quite honestly, you've grown apart in so many ways. And you know what? I mean, that's okay. You'll figure it out. I know you will, because sometimes being by yourself is better than feeling alone in a relationship. My personal belief is that I don't think every relationship is meant to last forever. I just don't. And I think this is not failure. None of this is. But I think all these things require honesty. An empty nest is when that honesty can no longer be put off and postponed, right? It's real. It's right there. And, you kind of have to discuss things. And some marriages are fine. I think you reconnect and you find, again, the beauty of it and what brought you two together in the first place. And I think, that's a beautiful thing too. It's definitely a huge adjustment time. And I think it's okay to feel that kind of awkwardness too. So the fifth blind side, as I call it, is the guilt that has no name. So, women tell me about a guilt that creeps in from every direction. And what do you mean by that, right? I mean guilt because you're sad when you're supposed to be happy. Guilt because you're relieved on days when the sadness lifts, and then you feel guilty about that relief. Guilt that you could have been more present when they were small, and Jesus gone by so quickly, right? Guilt that maybe you were too present, like a helicopter parent. And then guilt that you're not handling this more gracefully. Well, you know what this is? This is the fun house mirror of motherhood. Every feeling comes with a counter one that tells you the feeling is wrong. But I want you to hear this. Hear me. The guilt is noise. It is not truth. And feeling sad and feeling proud can live in the same body at the same time. And feeling relieved does not mean you don't love them any less. I think you're just struggling with it. And that doesn't mean you failed. So really, again, hear me now. You are allowed to have a full, complicated, emotional experience of this moment. That is not weakness. That is, I think, what it means to have loved someone and to love someone this completely, and for them to be a constant 24/7 in your life. And now that changes. That changes. All right, so number 6, nobody checks on the mom. This is the one that kind of breaks my heart a little, because in the weeks after drop-off, everyone asks about your kid, right? Your friends ask how she's settling in. Your family asks about his classes. And all that stuff. Your mom asks if she's made friends yet. Almost no one calls to ask, how are you doing? Maybe there's someone who has done that. I had a few friends that did that for me, right? Someone we could cry with. And I want to say this. If someone does ask, don't lie. We're conditioned to say, I'm fine, keep him busy, and then redirect back to the kid immediately. But not me. Nope. I didn't do that. Nope. I was a mess because I actually said, I'm really struggling. I'm brokenhearted. I'm wrecked, And sometimes it feels like something's wrong with you, like you should be over this already, like you're making it about yourself when it should be about them. But that's a lie. Mama, someone needs to check in on you. And today I'm doing that. I'm checking on you. And I'm telling you now, it's okay to not be fine. It's okay to still be in it. And if this is not if you're listening to this and it's not at drop off time, right? Because when I've dropped this episode, I just want to prepare you for it all. And I want you to go back and listen to it after drop off. When you need the cry, the ugly cry, yeah. Because it's okay to still be in it a few weeks later after drop off. Okay. It's okay to still ugly cry when you're dropping them off again at the airport or driving them at, Thanksgiving break. Yep. All the time. You'll eventually get through it. And I mean that. I just think it's just so hard, and you have to be okay with it being hard and understanding of yourself. So we've named it, we've sat in it, and now I want to shift it because this podcast is called Secrets of Powerful Women. And I believe fiercely that this season of your life is not the end of something. It is a doorway, for lack of a better word. But here's what I want to be clear about. I'm not going to tell you to reinvent yourself, although, I'm a big advocate of that, right? But I'm not going to hand you a list of hobbies and tell you to stay busy, because this moment is asking you for something I think that's more courageous than that. It is asking you to meet yourself, to introduce yourself to yourself again. When you strip away the role that has been most central to your identity, what's left? What do you want? What have you been quietly setting aside for 18 years? What is the version of you that existed before you were somebody's mother? And what does she have to say right now? For some of you, the question is exciting. For others, it's terrifying, because if you are honest, and we are honest here, you might realize that you've lost touch with that woman. You might not quite know what she wants anymore. Her wants could have changed too. You could develop new wants. And that's okay. That's not a crisis. I think this is more about an invitation to get to know yourself. And the women like me who have come out on the other side of this transition, not just survived, but have been transformed by it. I think many of us will say the same thing. I had to stop filling the silence before I could hear what it was actually trying to tell me. Because what I found out is that the silence is not the enemy. Getting quiet and being in the silence is critical information. And what does yours say? What does yours say? All right, well, I don't want to leave you with just the emotional side of all of this. I want to give you something to work with. These are the things that actually helped me, real stuff. Give yourself a timeline. Not to be over it by, but to be compassionate with yourself during. So tell yourself for the next 30 days, I'm allowed to feel all of this. I am not going to shame myself for crying. I am not going to push into a big project before I'm ready. Give yourself a window of genuine adjustment. And after that window, you start gently asking yourself, what do I want to do next? What do I want to build next? Yeah. So, and I mean, I think resist the urge to immediately fill the space. So the instinct is to schedule everything, to volunteer for things, pick up projects, stay relentlessly busy so you don't have to feel the quiet. And I completely understand that. I mean, but filling the space before you've heard what it has to say to you means you bring the same old stories into the next chapter, like you have to turn the page. You have to sit with the quiet, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Also, I think I want you to renegotiate your relationships. So this is big. Your relationship with your child just changed. It's not ended, but it's changed. And the healthiest thing you can do for both of you is to be intentional about what the new version looks like. And this was hard, and sometimes my kids had to say, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to call you every night. Right? You might have to have that direct conversation. What does check-in look like? How often do we talk? When do you want me to show up versus when do you need me to let you figure things out? And the hardest part is following through. Not texting every day just because you need the contact. I'm still working on this one, okay? I'll be honest. I like to talk to my kids every day, most days, because I genuinely enjoy them, and they are funny and they make me laugh and they have funny stories. So yeah, I'm still, as they will tell you, it's a tough one, right? But I think you have to trust your kids to remember everything you taught them, right? And I think you can't control their actions. You cannot control what they do every day, and nor should you try. It will push them away. It will push them away. And then I think you need to find your people. Find the women who are in it with you or have come through it. Not to vent endlessly, but you need to do that too. But to be seen and be heard. To say, this is so hard. And have someone say, yes, I know. It is. It sucks. But you're going to be okay. And they're having the time of their lives, or they will. So that's why communities like this one exist, because you should not be doing this alone, right? So now, here's an assignment. Start with this sentence. I want. It sounds simple. It's not. Sit down somewhere quiet with a journal or just a piece of paper. I like writing things down. And start with 2 sentences. And they should not be, I should. or I need to. This needs to be I want. And I'm going to use the phrase that has changed my life, and Mary Olson Menzel, who wrote the book What Lights You Up, it has inspired me too. But what lights you up? What have you been curious about? What would you do with a free afternoon that has no agenda attached to it? What is something you've said someday about for years? Someday I'll do it. Someday. Wouldn't it be nice if? Someday. Well, guess what? Someday is here. You just have to be willing to claim it, to face it. So, all right. All right, that's it for me. Hey, listen, ladies, I'm launching an online membership community soon. And if you're interested, we'll talk about things like this with live guests, as well as all the other subjects and all the other fabulous guests I have on the show. And it's really every subject you could think of. And with the guests, you can ask your questions. And I want to build a community that really bridges all the women that are listening throughout the country and other countries, I'm happy to say. So I'll include the link in the show comments, or you can head to my website, powerfulwomanusa.com. There's a sign up page there. And when we have enough women interested, we'll launch it. Do it because you want to do it. And what the best part is, you can stay in your yoga pants and at home for this. I don't even care. Don't even put on makeup, okay? I don't even care. You be you and find the right community for yourself. All right? All right, ladies. I'm Jill Conway, and thank you for listening to the show. And I hope you are inspired to pursue your own goals, believe in yourself, and dream bigger. Your voice matters, and your story can help others. I hope you join me next time. Share this podcast with a friend, please, and follow me on Instagram. Take care, everybody.